Good morning and welcome to the Daily Tanya. Today is Wednesday, Chaf Vav Adar Aleph, the 26th day of the first Adar. Let's begin the Tanya with tzedakah. Leila tzedakah, shemekarev sasagula. Make sure every day put a few pennies in tzedakah to bring Mashiach closer. So we continue in this fundamental chapter, the chapter 32, Lamed Beis Leiv, the heart of the Tanya. And the previous Rebbe, when he divided this chapter on the leap year, he divided it to small pieces. Every day we learn a little piece. Maybe it is because he wants us to really connect and absorb what we study very well. Because we're studying here about the need to love unconditionally every single Jew. And he explained how it is possible to love your fellow like you love yourself. Because if what is important to me is my neshama, my soul, rather than my physical needs, my body, my animal soul, I focus on my godly soul, then we all the same. Even the lowest of the low, even a person who is very far from doing the right things, we shouldn't consider him in a low place. On the contrary, we should be humble towards every person, every human being. However, sometimes people come to me and say, Rabbi, how could you say we should love every single Jew? What about this and this person? What about this group of people? They're so bad. They're going against the Torah. They're going against everything. How can we love them? Not only that, they'll bring you proof from the Talmud that, people like that, you got to hate. You have to hate them. Alter Rebbe addresses this in today's lesson. And he says that we have to make sure not to take it out of context to understand what the Talmud is telling us. So what is the Talmud telling us? In general, we know the Torah says clearly, it says, Lo yisisna es achicha b'levavecha. You should not hate your brother in your heart. There's a prohibition against hating another Jew. But then there is a statement in the Torah. There's a verse in the Torah that says, Kisire chameir seinacha roivitz tachas masai. If you see a donkey of your enemy that is collapsing under its load, you have to help him out. And the Talmud is asking the question, how could you have an enemy? If the Torah says clearly, do not hate someone, how could you have someone who you hate? So the Talmud says that there is a very extreme example where it is permissible to hate a certain Jew. What is that extreme example? It says that if you see a friend that is violating a mitzvah, violating a Torah prohibition, and you rebuke them and it doesn't help, there's a mitzvah to hate him, and there's a mitzvah to tell his teacher as well to hate this person. And that's where people come and says, you see, Rabbi, the Torah says this person who sins, you got to hate. So the Alter Rebbe explains, and it says, you have to understand it. You can take it out of context. When does the Torah says, first of all, Alter Rebbe divides the answer in 2 points. It says, number one, you got to qualify what kind of extreme circumstance we're talking about. And number two, even in that extreme circumstance, there's a mitzvah to hate him. At the same time, there is a mitzvah to love him as well. Today, he's going to focus first on the qualification of what extreme circumstance we're talking about. So he says, when we're talking about, the Torah says, when you see your friend committing a sin, obviously we're saying a friend. We're not talking about a strange Jew, somebody you don't know, somebody who's a friend of yours, somebody who you have influence in him, somebody who studies Torah along with you. That's why he has his teacher. He's studying Torah, somebody who is observing observing the mitzvahs, doing everything good. A person like that, when he commits something, does something wrong, then he's being judged the bar is higher. He's being judged more carefully because a scholar, a person who studies Torah, understands, should know better. And even that person, we're talking about after you spoke to him nicely, in a loving way, and you rebuked him in a good way, and it didn't help. That is a very extreme circumstance. And then there's a mitzvah to hate him, hate what he's doing. Hate the person because of the evil that is in him, in that sense of when he's doing something which is obvious going against Hashem. In this particular case, anybody else is a mitzvah to love, especially people when we see. You're going to hate someone, you're going to scream at someone, does it help? Is it going to help them to do better? Obviously not. So let's see what the Alter Rebbe says inside. Is the Alter Rebbe, מה שכתוב בגמרא, שמי שרואה בחברו שחוטא מצווה לשנוא וגם לא ימלא רבה שישנאהו. As for the Talmudic statement that if one sees his friend sinning, he should hate him and should also relate the fact to his teachers so that he too will hate him. How does this conform with what was said above, that you have to love every Jew unconditionally? Says the Alter Rebbe, Ainu b'chaveira b'Torah mitzvahs, number one, we got to qualify. You have to understand, don't take it out of context. This applies only to one's companion, one's equal in the study of Torah and the observance of the mitzvahs. So the sinner in question is a Torah observant scholar, but has lapsed in this one instant. In this case, his sin is much more severe than usual, since it is written that even the inadvertent misdeeds of a scholar are as grave as deliberate sins. But even this general assumption of the gravity of his conduct is not sufficient cause to hate him. The Alter Rebbe continues, yet another condition must first be satisfied. What is the other condition? He says, "V'kvakiem boi mitzvahs oicheach teichiach es hamisecha im sheitcha b'teira u'b'mitzvahs." We're talking about a person that he has also fulfilled with him, with a sinner, the injunction, you shall repeatedly rebuke your friend. What does it mean, repeatedly rebuke your friend? Says the Alter Rebbe, the word amisecha, which is your friends, word used for the word your friend, amisecha, also indicates, as the Talmud points out, im sheitcha, he who is on par with you in Torah and mitzvahs. Ve'af al pikein lo yishav, and nevertheless has not repented of his sin, as it is written in the Sefer Charedim. So we're talking about a person who is a religious Jew, he's going to yeshiva, he's studying Torah, he understands, he knows everything. And you have rebuked him repeatedly. It's interesting here. The word heicheach teichiach es hamesecha. It's a double wording. Rebuke, you shall rebuke you, meaning you should repeatedly rebuke. There was a chassid of the Tzemach Tzedek, his name was Rabbi Hillel Paritcher, a famous chassid. And he once said, he heard from the Tzemach Tzedek The Tzemach Tzedek was the third Chabad Rebbe. And he heard from him saying about this verse, Ocheach Tachiach, rebuke, you shall rebuke. It is similar to what it says regarding circumcision. It says, Himal Yimal, circumcise, you shall circumcise. The double wording, circumcise, you shall circumcise, indicates that one needs to circumcise himself before circumcising others. And the same thing here. When it comes to rebuking, when it comes to guiding other people, you have to first rebuke yourself. If you rebuke yourself and you examine yourself, and then you talk to somebody else, those words are words that come out of the heart and will enter the heart. So this is a very, very extreme circumstance what the Alter Rebbe is telling us. That when is it that it's okay to hate? And again, hate is not something that is ever okay. In this circumstance that the Torah says that it's okay, it is a very, very extreme circumstance. And in a case that you're basically meeting all three conditions. Condition number one, that this is on par with you in far as Torah study. And number two is an observant person, meaning a person that cares about mitzvahs. And condition number two, you try to do your best in guiding him and rebuking him, and it doesn't help. Then you should hate him for the bad that he harbors. But at the same time, as we'll soon learn tomorrow, that is also the mitzvah to love him at the same time. There was once someone came to the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, and he told him about how something similar on the line. How does the Rebbe show so much love and care to such people who the Torah says in the Shulchan Aruch says you have to be far away from them. You have to don't even bother save their lives if their life is in danger and so on. And the Frierdiker Rebbe told him, that law that you're referring to is the very last law of the very last part in the Shulchan Aruch, the Code of Jewish Law. Which means that you first make sure to study everything else. Make sure you practice everything else. Make sure you know everything else, you're doing everything else right. And everything else, of course, I mean, this is not what I'm adding here. Everything else, of course, includes to know how to deal with a person, how to love a person, how to give everything. If everything else you know and you study, then you can decide on that last law if that applies. But certainly in the day and age like today, people are doing things, even people that it seems that are going against God, against the Torah. It is why? It's because they want to go against Hashem, because they don't know better. They were not given the proper education. They don't have anything that you can say that this is a mischa b'Torah mitzvahs, your friend in Torah mitzvahs. So as the Alter Rebbe will continue later, say that these people, we must do everything and bring them close only with love. So this is the end of today's shir. We'll continue with Hashem tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.